I spend a lot of time making deliveries around here, so I kind of got my little spots I know I can park.
That was the voice of owner-operator and Overdrive August Trucker of the Month, Jason Shelly, speaking from the cab of his Western Star on a regular route he runs, making multi-stop deliveries up and down the Mid-Atlantic portion of the East Coast. I'm Todd Dills, your host for this Overdrive Radio edition, in which we'll hear from him there around the Washington, D.C. area, the day we talked in early August. That run, load out fresh meat Tuesday in York, Pennsylvania, delivered by Thursday to multiple Amish markets between Virginia and New Jersey. It's one he built himself with a partner, serving a premium pork producer to start more than 20 years ago now. Shelly's been nothing if not consistent in customer service as demand has grown for the product over those decades, a story you'll hear him tell in the podcast today. He's headquartered in Pennsylvania himself in the town of Telford and runs his one-truck business in addition to raising 3 children, fostering many others, and restoring and upgrading a variety of trucks through the years, too. Owner-operator Shelly is Overdrive's Trucker of the Month for this past month, putting him in the running for our 2025 Trucker of the Year award. Sponsored again for the year by Bostrom Seating, who's putting a new seat on the line for the ultimate winner. You yourself can enter or nominate another deserving owner for the award at overdriveonline.com/toptrucker. You can read about Shelly, too, via the Trucker of the Year section of overdriveonline.com with my story about him published 1 week ago, August 26th. Alternately, just listen on for the reefer hauler's story in his own words in this part 1 of a 2-part podcast featuring Shelly. Keep tuned for more after the break.
When the temps rise, so does stress on your diesel engine. Dust, dry fuel, and high heat can wear down your system fast. That's why smart drivers use Howe's Diesel Defender. It cleans injectors, improves lubricity, and keeps things running smooth, even in extreme summer conditions. Defender also increases fuel economy by a minimum of 5%, guaranteed. This summer, defend your diesel with Howe's. Available at retailers nationwide and on Amazon.
Find more information at HOWES.com about all of the company's fuel treatments, including its Howe's Diesel Treat Anti-Gel. Winter's not far away, that's certain. Anyhow, here's Shelly, setting things up with the basics of his operation today.
Let's go. We got to go. We got to get there.
Yeah, my name's Jason Shelly. I live in southeastern Pennsylvania, a little town called Telford. One truck, one trailer, owner-operator operation for the last going on 30 years. And primarily my business is temperature-controlled food products, but like a lot of other guys, I'll put whatever I can in the trailer that makes sense. But for the last 23, I've been doing the same route, servicing Amish farmers markets up and down the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic, from South Jersey to Richmond, and delivering fresh meat to the Amish where they have markets Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So our product gets processed on a Monday, it gets loaded on a Tuesday morning, and I get it to the markets before they open up Thursday morning. That's my primary run every week. It goes 52 weeks a year and 3 times around Thanksgiving and 3 times around Christmas and a couple times around Easter. So it's been a great account. It's been a great relationship. As far as my equipment, currently I run an 07 Western Star with an older Detroit glider type situation, and I pull a 53-foot reefer, Great Dane, and I do have a utility. I actually have my utility. I said one truck, one trailer, but I have a couple trailers just to keep in the rotation and keep me going. Yeah, pretty basic setup, but it works well for me, and it's a reliable setup, thankfully.
That Western Star is a 4900 EX?
It is a 4900 EX car hauler. A lot of guys think it's a low max, but once I bought it, I found it's really not. It's a body dropped EX with a short hood. Obviously, I took the rack off of it when I bought it. But yeah, I think it is. It's technically an EX, but there may be another number in there just to designate the car hauler. Okay. But it's been I I bought the truck to flip, but kind of like playing with trucks, and I got it. We did our thing with it. I started driving. I was like, wow, it's really nice. And then used truck prices kind of went nuts, so the flip situation wasn't ideal as far as finding a replacement that was reasonable. So I've been driving it ever since. I think now things are correcting themselves. I don't think we've hit rock bottom in used truck prices, but they're definitely correcting themselves. I picked up, like I said, a Great Dane recently, a newer trailer, kind of an upgrade for me, and it was a very, very reasonable price. A few years ago, it would have been 30 grand more than what I paid for it.
Shelley and his longtime owner-operator father take on restoration projects occasionally for outside clients, but also put in work on Shelley's equipment. When we were talking in early August, they were hard at work on the Great Dane and finished up the refurbishment fully just before my story about the owner-operator aired a week back on August 26th. You can read that story in full and check out the 2017 Great Dane hooked to Shelley's Western Star via the Trucker of the Year section of overdriveonline.com. When we talked, Shelley was actually pulling a different trailer, his 53-foot 2012 utility he describes in what follows.
I actually have a 53-foot utility with that's 96 wide with a roll door, which is really handy for as many stops as I do. And I do a lot of tail deliveries, so especially this time of year with higher ambient temps, I can keep my box temp more consistent with that roll door.
Okay.
Obviously, the industry's gone 102 wide primarily, so that's why I recently got that 102 wide, just because I have some customer needs that would require that. And I still run an 04 48 96 occasionally. But yeah,
Okay.
my trailers are aged, but they're in great shape, so I keep on just making it work. And I did hang a newer carrier on this utility this past winter, just because the other one was maxed out as far as hours, and kind of preventatively, just because of the sensitive nature of the meat that I haul. Wanted to stay on top of that. We have some frozen product that I do deliver, but they're looking for it to be thawed out, like some ribs, so they they'll get in the market tonight or tomorrow morning. They'll start prepping for barbecue, so they want it to be on its way to being fresh, or to being thawed. So like this time of year, I'll run 30 degrees just to maintain, but once the temperatures start to drop outside, 34, 36 is usually like where they like to have their product. If they do want frozen, I can split temp and accommodate and try to do our best to get them the product whatever temp they want it at.
Why don't you kind of take us back to kind of how you started out in trucking?
Yeah, growing up around trucks and farming, my grandfather was a dairy farmer, then also trucked, and then small little dairy farm way a lot of families had in our area, and then to supplement his income, he would deliver gas. So he actually had a Texaco gas route. I would say that would be in the 50s, that he could milk cows morning and evening, and then fit in a couple gas deliveries throughout the day, and maybe even more so overnight. So my dad grew up around that, farming and trucking, and that's the direction he went. And then I just followed in his footsteps. And going through grade school and then high school, I was pretty focused on what I wanted to do. Was a fairly decent athlete, played football, played some other sports, ended up getting a football scholarship to a Division II school here in Pennsylvania. But I graduated knowing that football was fun and it was great, and I made a lot of friends and memories, but it's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to enter into the trucking world. So at 18, my senior year, I got my CDL in November of my senior year, and I started trucking at night, just locally for my dad and one of his friends. And then I graduated high school, and I skipped the whole senior week and graduation parties and just started, full time in the truck. And actually had accepted that scholarship in like mid-July I hadn't lifted a weight. I hadn't run a wind sprint. I hadn't done anything but, sit in a truck for 16, 18 hours a day at that time. And I called the coach and said, hey, I'm going to pull back on that scholarship. He was very upset, but my parents were supportive because they knew what I wanted to do. They actually said they were kind of surprised that I was going to go to college. So that's how I started my early career. 18 to 21, I worked locally in state, obviously with that restricted CDL. Yeah. And the day I turned 21, I was looking to get out of town. A name you might be familiar with, Frank Malatesta from Horseless Carriage Carriers in Paterson, New Jersey. Antique, classic, and exotic cars. They have green trucks, red frames. Pretty legendary in the automobile transport world. He gave me a job at 21 hauling Ferraris in an enclosed trailer. So I went up in November after I turned 21, trained with him and his guys for a couple of months, and then he put me on the road. 7 Ferraris out of Ferrari headquarters up there just on the east side of the George Washington Bridge going to Southern California. And that's how I was introduced into over the road on my own. I had ridden with my dad and his guys and cousins, back and forth to the coast all throughout my childhood. But that's how I started over the road. Yeah, and worked for Frank and learned that business to a certain extent for a couple years. And then his deal was you needed to have a T600 Kenworth or a T2000 to work for him because it fit his paint scheme, and he wanted uniformity in the fleet. And I got a deal on a W9, and was hard-headed enough that I thought I was going to be able to put it on, and he didn't let me. So I was kind of run that out. You could stay out for 3-4 months at a time. I was a young guy, started dating my wife at the time, so I actually left.
You were driving company truck for him to start, right?
I was. I drove his son-in-law's truck. Okay. Who's a dispatcher, Bob Sachs. Great guy. I actually connected with him last year. He's still up there in Paterson, and so we parted ways on good terms. But then I started with that W9, and I bought a covered wagon. Was still pretty good in our area, Bethlehem Steel and Fairless Hills, and Bethlehem was still cranking pretty good. So I did the covered wagon thing for a few years, and then eventually went back to pulling a reefer where I started and where my dad was, and took advantage of his contacts and his accounts. And by that time, my wife and I had gotten married, or my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, got married, and was running all over, and then took a pretty steady gig to Florida for my dad for a couple years, and then started a family, so wanted to be around more, and that's when I got into what I'm into now, more local regional work. A friend from church actually had been working for a local pork producer, pretty well known, great product, and he saw that there was a niche with these Amish farmers markets that were starting to pop up in metro areas. So the Amish that I work with and for are from Lancaster County, but they commute to these markets every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And they were building these businesses, establishing these markets, obviously wanted fresh, high quality poultry, pork, beef, waterfowl. We even did rabbits for a while. They wanted this product that their customers were demanding down here, and he actually left his really good sales job and went out on his own and started providing all these products to the Amish. And he started out delivering stuff like in his pickup truck, then he got a straight truck, and then at a certain point it grew really fast. He's like, Jason, I need a trailer. Would you be interested? Mm-hmm. So I went with him one night, and we're delivering at shopping centers and on the side of the road, and carting things through the markets, 2-wheelers, U-boats. I was like, wow, this is a lot of work, but hey, you know what? I'm a young guy. I'm aggressive. Got a baby on the way. Probably had one by then. I'm like, you know what? This is something I can do. So I took that route on, and then it grew. And
Okay.
it grew to the point where, you know, it didn't even fit in the trailer. So we had his straight trucks, my trailer. Fast forward about 16 years, he and I worked together as partners. He was on the sales side, customer relations. I was on the transportation side. You know, the DC metro area has been great for us because even through '08 and some downturns, we knew that the metro DC area was the only area that was growing because of government. There was a demand for our high-end product, and also you put Amish, Pennsylvania Dutch on anything, people want it or seem to want it. So he got up in age. He was grooming his son to take it over, and his portion of the business. And his son rode with me for like 6 months just to learn the transportation side of it because he wanted him to know all aspects. Well, after that 6 months, I don't blame him at all, but he saw how hard his dad works and how hard he thought I worked. He said, you know what, I'm going to get into real estate. So he stepped back from the idea of partnering with me, and I was left in the position where I either need to take over the whole business or, you know, we're selling. And the conversation went to let's sell. And he was, my partner Dale, was really it was really on his heart to find someone that would treat these customers the way that we treated all these years. And we found a larger food distribution company, not larger than what we were, but not mega large like a Cisco or McLean or US Foods, and sold. And I actually sold my truck, my trailer, and I was going to do something different. This was 7 years ago. I had an antique Kenworth I had that we had restored, and I had a truck, but I was going to do something different. And within 2 weeks of the sale, that company we sold to said, hey, we're having trouble getting our guys to make these deliveries. Is there any way you could come back and help? So I put my 1980 A model, tagged it, and I bought that 4896 for $2,500 with a Thermo King that didn't work, but we got running. And I thought I'd help them out for a few months. Now, 6 months later, 6 years, going on 7 years later, I'm still doing the route. They've grown the business again, offering product that we had never offered. And it's been a great partnership again. I basically do the same route I've done for 23 years, give or take a stop here or there. When I came back to work for them, I gave myself a big raise, thinking it was going to be temporary, but they treat me like family. I roll in on a Tuesday morning. My stuff's all on the dock, all picked, all wrapped. All I got to do is figure out how to make it fit on my trailer, and they let me do my thing. So that's how it started, and that's how it's going.
And that comes out of their dock in, is it nearby to you?
So for the first 15 years, we would load out of the parking lot. Straight trucks would go out, make my pickups.
Yeah.
I'd go tail to tail right at my shop, and I'd load it. We sold to a company in south of York, Pennsylvania, so it's 100 miles away, but it's in the right direction because I start my load out that way now. So I run out there. It's on the dock. They do all the pickups. They have way more dock and storage space than we ever had. So it's really streamlined it nicely. We have an agreement like, hey, I'll give you 6 months before I quit, and you give me 6 months before you let me go. We have a little powwow annually, and they're like, hey, keep on doing what you're doing. None of our guys want to do it. They don't really have the capacity to do it as far as a trailer. And it's still very physical as far as I touch 90% of the boxes product that's on my trailer between either getting it off the tail, in the door, or in the cooler, which, in my late 20s, that's, no problem. Now going into my early 50s, you think about it, but you know what? I'm so thankful I can do it. I probably pace myself a little bit more, and, Lord willing, I can still do it for a long time. I'll be 50 in November. There's some days I feel like I'm 50, but thankfully most days it kind of snuck up on me. So I'm thankful for that. My wife is really conscious about, she was a professional athlete, so she exercise and training has been a part of her life So she's carried that through, and I've tried to keep up to a certain extent. You know, when you're out on the road 3-4 days a week, you can't do much. But when we're home, we exercise, and she's a big supplement type gal that keeps pumping stuff in me that I guess makes me feel better. But so I'm, like I said, I'm thankful for the way I feel and what I'm able to do. I'm only home a couple mornings. It's changed a little bit. I have some customers that I can start a little bit later. A lot of my stuff's overnight, so I'll get home in the morning. But I just do some kind of weightlifting.
Gotcha.
I took in some teaching early on that said, hey, God created us to get up and do something, because before this current century or the last 100 years, that's what human beings did, is they got up and did something, whether it was milk a cow, hitch the horses. So I just do a light weight workout with some deep knee bend squats, push-ups, and then I'll do some a stepper. We have everything in the basement. We used to go to the Y. It's good. Our kids are all active, pretty athletic. It motivates me to stay in a certain level of shape that I can, still do some stuff with them too. So that's another good motivation.
And they spend a lot of time on the truck with you, correct?
Yeah. So my wife's name is Ranita, and we grew up fairly close, same area, and went to grade school together. Cool. I did third grade twice, so she got ahead of me. When she was in college and I started trucking, we started dating. But yeah, we have 3 children, Bryce 21, Brant 19, and Brooklyn 17. We put a lot of kids through our house. We unofficially foster over the years. We set up our basement to host. So like right now we have a mom that's in crisis. She's living in the basement, but we also host other kids and have fostered, I don't know how many kids over the years could come through the house, but we have some adult kids that we had fostered that we still, claim as our own, so to speak, and really been blessed to have those kids come through. And yeah, as far as kids in the truck, I think it was second grade, I had just felt the nudge to start homeschooling, second grade of our oldest. And I was like, wow, what is that going to look like? I wasn't much of a student myself and clearly not a teacher, but I just kept on feeling that's what we should be doing. My wife was totally supportive, but she's like, you got to do it. She said that's not something that she wanted to take on. And she's been a big cheerleader, but she didn't have specific roles in homeschooling. So I did my research, a little intimidating, as far as curriculum out there and how to do this. And I found a curriculum I was comfortable with, and we tried it. And our oldest son, Bryce, prospered in that. But part of the deal was he was going to have to go in a truck at least Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And so we started that, and he had been in the truck a lot as an infant. Just the way our schedules worked, the kids would be with me. And then, number 2 and 3 came along. So there was several years that there was 3 kids in the truck, and at that time I had a W-9. I had a 2000 W-9 for 18 years or 17 years maybe, and I had put a double eagle sleeper on it with bunk beds and a potty and a fridge and a desk. So it was a lot easier to have 3 children and a dog most weeks, and some challenging long days, but a lot of great memories overall. And I catch the kids even now as young adults reflecting and talking fondly of those times, and remember when, and the things that we ended up seeing and working through, and the fun that we had and the detours we made. So that was for about a 7-year period. Consistently had somebody in the truck almost every week. I could only do that with the route that I did. If I was delivering to steel mills or car dealerships or supermarket distribution centers, it wouldn't have worked. But to have 3 kids run around an Amish farmer's market on a Tuesday evening was no big deal. It was a controlled environment, and if my customers happened to be there, they'd have 4 or 5 kids with them too. So we have some pretty neat memories and pictures of the Amish children, and they would call us English. Our kids playing together, and we always had a dog with us, so that was always an attraction. That's how it worked.
2000 W9. That was not the truck that you bought, thinking you were going to bring it into the Ferrari hauling operation.
So I bought a new W9 in '97. Got a 379 in between, and then there was a pretty well-known truck. This black W9 was owned by a gentleman by the name of Richie Acosta out of North Jersey, and it was like 330 wheelbase. But he wanted a Pete like I had, so he and I started talking. He was going to do this project 350, 379 through Clint Moore.
I remember that.
Yeah, he was calling about speccing a truck because he wanted to look like my 379. And in that conversation, I said, well, what are they giving you for your W9? Because he was going to trade it. And he told me, I was like, well, I'll give you that, because I knew it was a low mileage, nice truck, the spec I wanted. So I ended up buying it from Richie, and I shortened it. And it had, as our family grew, it had 3 different bunks on it. It started out as a 60-inch flat top. Then I put a 60-inch Aerodyne on it. Then I put the custom bunk on it. And then it's still, so to speak, in the family. A good friend of mine, Chris Bear, owns it. And now he's got 3 children that travel with him a lot in it. But that's how that came about. But as the kids kind of aged out of going on the truck, I'm like, I don't need this big truck. And it was pre-emission, pre-ELD, whatever that was, 18, 19. I guess got ridiculous. The value was ridiculous. And I just kind of capitalized on it and let it go. After 16, 17 years, I guess it was. But that was a good truck. Yeah, that was a C15, 18-speed. We rebuilt it, I think, around $1 million. Chris has another $1 million on it almost by now.
That's Chris with a K, and Bear is B-A-I-R. Owner-operator Bear today looks at Jason Shelly as a prime mentor in his business. And that 2000 Double Eagle sleeper outfitted W9 with quite a lineage you heard owner-operator Shelly detail there wasn't the first truck Bear bought from the owner. Remember his mention of an old A-model Kenworth earlier?
Yeah, interesting little side note is he came to me, or we got together on that 1980 A model I had restored, and I financed it for him. That was his first truck.
Oh, okay.
And then I financed that. He got that paid off. And then when we're thinking we're getting out of the market business, he traded that back in on the black W9. So then I financed that second truck for him.
You have that A model now?
No. So then I ended up getting back in the market route. Needed to do a little. I ran that truck for about 8 months, which was fine, but it's an old truck. And I upgraded and ended up financing it for another kid, which I'm not looking to get in the finance business, but I figured everybody needs to get started, and I had some good guys in my life that helped me get started, and I haven't had a bad experience. Very trusted people and good kids that I've been able to do that several times throughout the years, getting somebody started.
For my story about Shelly's long owner-operator career, Chris Bear, a decade and more Shelly's junior in age, told me the owner-operator has been an invaluable resource to him through the years, so many ways. Quote, Jason has always helped me out, Bear said. He's a guy I can talk to and bounce ideas off of. I'd call him a mentor and a friend, not just in trucking, but life in general. Increasingly, Bear's following in Shelly's footsteps and carving out his own niche with direct customers and lending a hand up to the generation coming up behind him, too. Clear evidence of owner-operator Shelly's ongoing living legacy for owner-operators in his area. It's among the many reasons he was our Trucker of the Month for August. Read all about his business in that feature story I mentioned, and hear more from Shelly next week in part 2 of this podcast featuring the owner-operator with his best advice for truckers coming up in the business with a mind toward trucking business ownership. I'll post a link to the story in the show notes, likewise to the nomination page for the 2025 Overdrive Trucker of the Year program. We're coming down to the wire with just 2 slots left for Truckers of the Month before the judging round begins to close out the year. Any nominations that come in after all the slots are filled for this year will also be considered for the 2026 program. It's sponsored again by the fine folks at Bostrom Seating and Commercial Vehicle Group, with a new seat on the line for the ultimate winner, in addition to a custom scale model recreation of the winning owner's tractor. Find those links in the show notes wherever you're listening. Overdrive Radio is on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, Overdrive's Facebook page, and any listening platform, really. Leave us a review there if you're enjoying these, and here's a big thanks in advance for it. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Whammick, Terry Tusock Christensen on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator, Jasmine Campbell, senior editor, Matt Cole, executive editor Alex Lockie, and video editors Lawson Rudisell and Andrew Gwynn. See you next time.